Hi, guys, and thanks for tuning in for another one of our chit chats with, well, this time it's with Nathan from TRX. You may have caught him on our last webcast, and I thought I'd catch up and we'd talk about all things global, all things TRX. And as you know, we partner with TRX. So it's an absolute delight to have you back, Nathan. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, it's a pleasure, T, as always. It's always good to chat to you. So yeah, thanks for inviting me again.
My utter pleasure. So I wanted to pick your brain a few times, if that's okay with these questions.
Yeah.
So first of all, tell me a little bit about the changes that have been happening at TRX, something to do with new ownership. Let us into all of that.
Sure. Yeah. So I'll be straight to the point. It wasn't the best year that we've had TRX as a business, unfortunately. Around about the summertime, our previous owners put us in for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, which is voluntary bankruptcy within the US. Unfortunately, we had a certain amount of debt that we weren't able to clear. So the only way to do it was either to liquidate the company or go into Chapter 11, which we did. So that meant, from a court point of view, that we were put up for sale. And it was pretty much like a Zoom auction from what I've been told. A certain amount of companies could register their interest in purchasing TRX. And then I think it was whittled down to 5 key ones, and they had to put in a certain amount deposit, I suppose, in terms of the minimum they were looking to bid. And then fortunately for us, the actual winners of the auction, so to speak, was our previous owner and founder, Randy Hetrick, along with his business partner, Jack Daly, and they ended up purchasing the company. And that was about 10 weeks ago now. So I kind of feel like it's an old with the new TRX. We brought back some previous staff. Obviously, Randy's back as chairman, but then Jack Daly is the new CEO and owner of TRX outright. And he's brought his team on board as well as to get involved with the executive side. So yeah, whilst it's been definitely an up and down year for sure, we're now coming out of it in the right way, and it's all very positive at the moment, which is great. So yeah, that's kind of the big news from TRX this year anyway.
Amazing. It sounds tough, but it sounds like that's a really good solution or resolution out of it and stuff. You were saying before we recorded about the focus on education and stuff. So talk to me or talk to the people that are listening in about what your role is, just briefly with TRX.
So yeah, I'm based in the UK, as you know, and we have a direct business here. So we report directly to HQ in San Francisco, which will be in Florida next year as well. But then we have distributors in every other country. So we distribute in around about 90 countries in terms of equipment and education. So whilst my priority is to look after the UK in terms of education courses, events, anything that we do that's more face-to-face facing as well as digital, I then support all of our distributors globally to try and do the same thing. And obviously different cultures, different types of education are needed for different markets, but I'm there to support. So we do a lot of traveling to go and visit our distributors.
Yeah.
Whether they've got their own events or whether the country specifically. So we recently come back from Bucharest last week because we attended Romania Active, which I suppose is a UK active version of the events that they do. So supporting our distributors through there. Obviously, we have our own TRX Summits, which is our annual kind of fitness events as well. So I support the distributors if they're looking to deliver one of those events at their facilities or within their country. So yeah, it's a whole range really, bringing on new distributors as well. If certain distributors aren't necessarily doing great, or we're not really in that market at the moment, so we need to kind of get some people on the ground there. So yeah, that's primarily what we do on a day-to-day basis for me.
Yeah. And you're I see, when I'm looking on my social media, I'm seeing that you're here, there and everywhere. Honestly, It feels like you do travel a lot. So what are your thoughts globally? What's going on? Obviously UK is having some interesting moments, right? Obviously I just wanted to get your idea of how TRX is globally.
TRX globally, obviously, yeah, we're well known. We're probably as well known as we are in the UK and the US. From the people that I've met and spoke with, they all seem to know what TRX is. They may not know all of it, especially maybe from some of the education courses we do, or even some of the products that we now sell. But the majority of people know what TRX is from a suspension training point of view. They know it's an official brand and not necessarily a form of exercise, which some people can get confused with sometimes. But it's definitely different in terms of culture. So if I take Japan as an example, the majority of people that use our suspension trainers are in elderly homes. So they use it as in the communal rooms. They use it to get themselves off a seat, practice a row, like a chest. So that's part and parcel. That's probably our biggest market in Japan. Whereas the UK, that's not so much. We tend to obviously work in a lot of gyms, a lot of home fitness as well. In the US, it's pretty much everywhere. So all professional sports that you can think of, TRX is front and center, both from an education point of view and equipment, which obviously two go hand in hand. So that's probably the main where I notice the differences. Obviously, there's a culture in the type of fitness that people will go for. So if I take some of the Middle East, so say outside of the UAE, if we take Kuwait, their majority is still into their weightlifting, bodybuilding, not really a functional training kind of country at all at the moment. So that's really kind of an eye-opener for us, because we feel that, it's still quite prominent and really a good way of training. There's more of a blend in the UK now. There's not so many gyms that just have, your fixed resistance and your cardio, and that's it. There is a functional training space. There are recovery spaces coming on board. Whereas certain countries, they're still 4 or 5 years behind what we're looking to do in the UK and US as an example. So that is interesting for sure.
It must be fascinating actually going to sort of observe that. I love the idea that, in Japan, that they're helping people move and stuff. Wouldn't that be lovely if that was adopted in the UK?
Yeah, I think it's just, right? It's purely down to a culture thing, speaking to the teams out there, it's like, not necessarily a right or wrong, but we respect our elderly more than probably any other country in the world, because, there's a heritage and so on and so forth. So we really look after our elderly people. Just because of the way that the culture is there, whereas we don't necessarily do that so much anywhere else, really. So it would be good to see more things like that happening in the UK. We have done some stuff with the NHS on a full prevention program for the elderly. So we have a gentleman in Rotherham that works with the local NHS, and he brings people of a certain age that come and spend 45 minutes with him on the straps, and they do very similar things to what we've seen in Japan, but obviously it's minimal compared to most of the country of Japan does that, whereas it's here and there within the UK market. So coming back to the UK, tell us about a summit you mentioned. I'd like to know a little bit more about that, please. So we run an annual fitness event. That's obviously primarily around TRX. We do have some partners that come on, but it's kind of like, I like to think of it as a weekend retreat, really. So we bring everyone together that's done a qualification through us. Could be one of the digital courses that you're also selling. And anyone that's got some experience with TRX, come and spend a couple of days with us. So we have my team here of master trainers, but we'll fly over the team from the US. So say, for example, Randy Hetrick would come over and spend a weekend with us. And we do some workouts, we do further education. We have what we call face-up games. So it's more of a fitness activity that's not necessarily involved specifically with TRX. So we will be running it at the University of Oxford in September. So we'll be out on the running tracks and doing some Olympic style games for our what we call face-up games. And it's just a way to bring everyone together. I think, as a fitness community that we kind of need to engage with a lot of people. And we haven't really done it for a long time because of COVID and lockdown. So this will be the first time that we've done it in what will be 4 years. And we feel it's kind of bringing everyone together, like I say, giving some knowledge, networking, community feel, but kind of refilling everyone's tanks with ideas, motivation that they can then go back to their own facilities, their own clients, and continue using our equipment and feel that they are part of a fitness community, which is great. So I'm really pleased that we're getting back to that, and we will also be doing them globally as well.
Nice. And this is a yearly event, although it's not happened in the last 4 years.
Right? we tend to do it yearly. So from a global perspective, we'll probably run 4 direct ones ourselves across the globe. So obviously in the US, we'll do Japan and UK, and then maybe one in and around Europe. So those will be four that we will look at. But then, as I've mentioned, our distributors globally, they will either look to take the blueprint for our summit and run their own mini version, or if they've got their own fitness events themselves, that they will look to maybe take some of our workshops and actually deliver those workshops as part of their own fitness event as well. So, you know, all being well, we'll quite have quite a lot of exposure from a training point of view globally next year, which is great.
Yeah. And how can people find out about that? Where can they find the details to book up?
Yeah, so obviously it'll be all over our social media accounts. So we have many, but obviously TRX_UK for the UK specific events. You can obviously follow our website, so trx.co.uk and .com. But we will also have a global calendar on those as well. So even if you're not in the UK or US or Japan, we will also obviously advertise any other event where we're going to be a presence of, even the likes of FIBO as an example, or if we do Elevate or Perform X. If we're going to be there, we will make sure that's front and center on our events page. So that's probably where you'll find, you know, a lot of detail, a lot of information on those services.
Yeah. And so with your work, obviously, I want to know about any exciting developments that you've got going on with education, or you feel that's exciting for TRX. Obviously, you've got the summit in September.
Yeah.
What else is going on that you're excited about? I mean, maybe you can't tell us everything, but maybe you could give us a little.
No, there's probably, you know, in terms of new stuff, we will always look to create new education, new workshops, new ways. So we are partnering up with one or two people, companies, sorry, not people. One in particular that we've mentioned, or I've mentioned on LinkedIn, is that we've partnered up with Vivo Barefoot, and we're doing some education, combining our straps with education around barefoot training, mobility of the foot, and how that can help improve, you know, training that you would use on a suspension trainer. So we'll have some digital content for that, and then we will look to do some face-to-face workshops next year. There is another company that we're working with. I can't mention them at the moment, but we're actually in the process of creating some content together. So that will be out next year. But for me, I think it's actually because we've had quite an up and down year with new ownerships, and also because, you know, we're finally out of lockdown, we haven't really got out and about a lot. So that's what I'm excited about most, is actually bringing some of this new content, but also re-engaging with a lot of people and exposing what we do very well to people that may have not seen us before because they've not necessarily had the opportunity. So yeah, a combination of things really, but yeah, those are the couple of things that I'm really excited about over the next year for sure.
Yeah, that's amazing, because, you know, people, if you haven't done something for 4 years, they may have only been in the industry for a few years, so not even known about this and stuff. So it's amazing. So you've, you know, in the work that you've done, I wanted to check in with you with the work with TRX, this global brand. What have you learned, you know, about being part of that, maybe about yourself or something about TRX that you hadn't known before? Because I think when we explore TRX, people are, I thought they only did this. I thought I didn't know about the education. And, you know, it's great that people are learning about TRX and stuff, but I just wanted to pick your brain about what you feel that you've learned being part of this global brand.
Yeah, good question. I think for me, I've learned, actually, as you've mentioned, really one of the key points is how versatile, especially our suspension trainer, how versatile we are, and we work with a whole range of people. So I'm getting to meet people from all walks of life and learning from them. As I've mentioned, the cultures from different countries, their experiences, what they feel fitness is, what they feel movement is. And actually, can I then apply that and use their ideas in different countries? Can I use that directly in the UK? So I think I've grown in terms of actually some world learning, I guess, from that point of view. I think from a brand, it's actually the management side of it, because there's a lot of distributors and a lot of countries, and it can be quite demanding. So it's actually balancing as well, and managing your time correctly. I'm the type of person that will try and answer an email straight away, or if I miss a call them back straight away and try and just get things done straight away. I like to be efficient. That always can't happen for a number of different reasons. So it's actually managing myself, and actually saying, look, sometimes you can't help everyone all the time straight away. So it's a balance, managing, you know, expectations, but also priorities, and sorting out, you know, what is needed to be done first and foremost, what can be done a little bit later, what can be come back to, but also putting the prerogative on to people as well, and actually trying to teach them further education and learning so they can be more self-efficient as well. So I think that's learning as well, because again, different cultures. I jump on a call with Japan, they won't say anything to me, they won't necessarily question anything that I say, just because that is part of the culture. I might get an email after saying didn't necessarily think this was correct, whereas if I jump on a call with France, totally different ball game. I probably can't get a word in edgeways a lot of the time, because they're just straight on me, like questions, oh, we'd love to do this, love to do this. Not necessarily right or wrong, it's just different ways of managing different people and different expectations. So I've learned a lot from there as well, from being part of a global brand, which is great.
So you've had to adapt, right? We all have to adapt, don't we? That's one thing I do know about you, Nathan. I'll send out an email to you and it will like, bing, your answer straight back. And I'm like, straight back. He's really good at that. You're really good at that.
Which is good. And also the Birmingham accent as well. No one outside of the UK understands the Birmingham accent at all. So I have to talk really slow or really quick, or repeat what I'm saying, because out of everything, and we've got people in the UK with all different accents, but I tend to be the worst one that people can't understand globally. So I'll put that on my CV, actually, I think.
I love that. So, okay, you having to do like lots and lots of things, and that, I mean, in my role, like, you know, you have to learn this idea of prioritizing and working out what's the best choice for the company, but still aligning well with yourself and all that sort of things, right? So what inspires you day to day? I mean, you're working for a great brand, there's no question. You've got a great, you know, setup there, right? But what inspires you to do such a great job?
It's connecting with people. Obviously, I love traveling, I love seeing different cultures, but actually, you know, I think as a well-known brand as we are, and you are correct with that, I still like to, you know, go to different countries, take a load of suspension trainers, bring some of my team, and actually like spend a good couple of hours, a full day with people, on educating people on how to use our equipment and be a better coach, or learn to move really correctly. So I think in a way, it's kind of taking what I did when I was a fitness instructor and then a personal trainer, but just putting it on a global scale. Really, it really is that simple. I'm fortunate now that I get to do it globally. But in a lot of ways, there's not really much different to what I was doing when, you know, just working for a commercial club in the UK. So I like that. I've learned a lot. And yes, I'm you know, I'm a much better coach now and a better educator than I was when I first started, of course. But in simple terms, it's just taking what I enjoyed doing 20 years ago to now doing it on a bigger scale, which, you know, I'm very, very grateful. So that still keeps me going, because I don't think I could necessarily just sit at home, for example, on a desk day in and day out, and trying to motivate people with that on that way. I just don't think I could do it. So that's what gets me up, actually, is getting to connect with a load of people and actually let's have a workout, let's educate, or, you know, let's answer any questions that you've got. So that's what I'm passionate about and what gets me up every day.
Do you miss that old part of your life, you know, just working in a gym? It's always there an element of that you miss at all?
Yes and no. Good question again. I think I miss the kind of interaction with the members. I feel like I was quite fortunate in my outlook. Was a gym was always a community. I wasn't necessarily happy with people that would just come in, train, leave, not speak to anyone, which is fine. People could do that. You know, we're not forcing people to chat to us, but I liked creating the community feel around things. So people were coming in because they wanted to train at this facility. They wanted to work with more trainers more than the gym across the road. So I miss that side of it. The day-to-day running of gyms, probably not. No, I've probably done that, learned a lot from it, and it was time to move on. I think I mentioned in my previous webcast with you is that I feel like I was hitting a bit of a brick wall, and I needed to kind of expand, because I feel like I could do a good job as well. So yeah, there's parts of it I do, but parts of it definitely not. I don't miss. I did my time in gyms, and I'm happy now doing what I'm doing, which is great.
Yeah, love that. So I love this question when people ask me this. So what would the advice you would give, or the insight you would give to you when you were working in the gyms? Is there any advice? We know we can't do this, so it's just in theory,
Yeah.
of course. But is there anything that you'd think, oh, I really wish I'd known that?
Yeah, continually educating myself, and using my own initiative to do that. So, grateful for the role that I'm in. But again, 20 years ago, if someone said to me that I'd end up, educating and working for a global company around education training, I'd have thought you were crazy, because the type of business that we were working with, education wasn't front and center. You qualified as a personal trainer, and that's it. There was no further education to put you through. And I feel that's a massive disadvantage for trainers as a whole. But because I wasn't put in front of it, and I wasn't necessarily, maybe it was just me, maybe slight arrogance or whatever it was, you weren't necessarily looking for education courses. And I'm grateful now that there's a lot of trainers that do that. But that's something that just wasn't involved with us. So if I could go back and tell myself, I'd be like, make sure, you're looking at different fitness brands, you're looking at what different gyms do, you're talking to management a lot more, and you're just educating yourself on being a better trainer as well. There was pieces of equipment that I didn't know how to use, but you assume that you did because you're a qualified personal trainer, which I think, again, that still happens within the industry globally. I'm not just talking about the UK, but that's something I wish I probably would have done better when I was first starting within the industry, definitely. So I'd recommend anyone, if you're not educating yourself within this industry, I just don't feel that you could be as good as you need to be, or actually, are you going to last as long as you think you are within the industry? If because trends change all the time, and if you're not on top of it or aware of it, I think it's just going to make your job a lot difficult, more difficult. Sorry. So yeah, that would probably be my advice, because I'm much, even though I don't do it now on a daily basis, I'm a much better coach now than I was, and that's purely because I've had education literally thrown at me all the time, and loads of opportunities to learn from different people. Didn't necessarily get that, but I didn't necessarily look for it as well. So yeah, that's probably what I would change.
Right. I see this in our industry, that there is the people are really curious, about learning things, and I think that they do really well. I think that's really, really obvious that they're, it's not that they're going, I don't know enough. It's that they want to know more so they can give more. I really do believe that.
Yeah.
I see sometimes, or I used to see when I was, educating people just coming into the industry, or they were then becoming a PT or something. I sometimes saw there was almost a resistance to education, like, I don't need that, or whatever. Yeah. And I'm kind of wondering, what your thoughts on that, why there may be resistance to education, because I have my own thoughts on it. But, again, if we look back at, somebody coming new into the industry, why do you feel that they might be resistant to doing more education?
I think it depends. There's a number of different reasons that you could really go for. I think for me, I think one, it comes from, if you qualify as a personal trainer, that's it. You can go and get a job in a gym, and some gyms, not everyone, and some businesses, not all, will probably say, well, you're a personal trainer, there's your job, go and get some clients. And that is really, at a base level, that's all you need. So if you're getting regular clients and you're earning, a decent money, then why would you necessarily want to change anything? So that, I think that's part of it. I think the actual culture of education, and again, not everyone, there's a lot of facilities, a lot of trainers that the culture of education is ingrained. It's just part of their career, and the chains that they work for. So I think a culture is also an element of it. But I also think it's a return of investment in a sense that we get sometimes a lot of pushback from trainers. Well, it's taking a day from my earnings, to learn. I'm having to put money out to educate myself. There's not necessarily any guarantee that, can I then put my fees up, or can I do this once I qualify as a TRX trainer or anything? So I think that's also kind of an objection from a lot of trainers. So I think those are kind of, for me, what I see the key reasons why someone necessarily won't further educate themselves, or there's a lot of more easy alternatives now, rightly or wrongly, that you'll see on YouTube and social media. Not necessarily great. There are some good stuff, but there's a lot of bad stuff as well. And some trainers may feel that that's all they need, is to kind of have a look at what someone's doing on a video and then try and copy and paste it within their own training with their clients. Doesn't necessarily work like that, but I think people want instant knowledge now, more than actually, am I going to spend a day with us at TRX, or am I going to spend 4 months doing strength and conditioning qualification, or am I going to do 300 hours of yoga? If that's not necessarily my passion, that's always going to, I think that's always going to be a challenge. But the aim is to try and, I think, like I say, going back to the culture and the community, we have a lot of people do further education because they feel part of the brand and part of the community. So they want to be the best of the best, or they want to then help other people, trainers and their clients, educate themselves more on, how to use a strap correctly, or a specific for a sport, or pre and postnatal. So I think, culture for me is vitally important. If the culture is not there, then, I don't think necessarily as many people are going to go off on their own back and do it themselves. That's how I feel.
I agree with you. No, I agree with you. And it's interesting when people who have been in the industry for a fair amount of time, and they've stuck it out, and they've gained some experience, and they've reached out to get further education. I feel it's almost like, if you ask them, would they have embraced education right at the beginning of their career? That often I hear this, well, if they're being really honest with themselves, they felt that perhaps they didn't want to, but perhaps they didn't want to show that they didn't know everything.
Sure.
And there is when we're first into the industry, a lot of people I would see thought there was going to be a lot of competition, that, they were going to be exposed in some way, that they didn't have this, an answer for everything. And the longer I see people in the industry, they're more like, there's so much more to learn. But yet they've learned so much. But right at the beginning, I do understand why people new in the industry might be a bit resistant, because they don't want to show up at themselves. They're a bit nervous that they don't know enough.
Yeah.
Ironically, by going into education, they would learn more. But I think some people's first experience of education, even at school, might have been that it wasn't a safe place for them. And what I love about great education is that you feel safe to learn and explore. And if I came and did a day of education with you, I'm not going to expect to know everything from that day. I've got to embed that learning and knowledge through working with my clients and doing the practice myself. And I think if that culture, we can't just hold Jim's responsibility. It's got kind of a thing that we have to embed in ourselves as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
that sort
definitely,
of cultural kind of thing.
I think Pete, trainers should look at it as an opportunity. You qualify as a personal trainer, and then you go to work in whatever club you do, or you set up your own business and you get some training. That's an opportunity then to learn even more, because you're working with trainers that could have been there for years and have so much experience. It's also, you should be learning on a day-to-day, and actually, because you'll have a whole variety of different clients, you're not going to get the same client, especially within the first 6 months of you being a personal trainer. It's an opportunity to learn from the clients as well. And like I say, I agree with it. It's a culture thing. A lot of people will think, no, I need to make sure the client's achieving their goals, which is important. And, but maybe you could spend some time with the trainers that have been there and done that and have so many clients and learn from them. You could look at different brands like ourselves to actually learn. So I think there's an abundance of opportunities as soon as you walk and you start your career within the fitness industry. But like you say, I think the focus first is, right, I need to get so many clients, I need to earn this much money, which again is vitally important, don't get me wrong, but then I think you also need to make time. Well, can I be a better trainer in 3 weeks time, 4 weeks time, 6 months time than I was when I first started? How can I improve myself? I also feel that needs to be part of your strategy or your plan whilst you're working within the fitness industry, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So for yourself in your kind of career and stuff, have you had any mentoring or support? Have you looked, I mean, because I asked you what inspires you, you said about connection, but have you looked at people or education yourself that you found really helpful?
Yeah, I'm constantly jumping on education courses that I would if I was still a personal trainer 20 years ago. So I most recently did the Vivo Barefoot education courses on barefoot coaching. So that was really, really good, really eye-opening. I'm really focusing on mobility now, flexibility and mobility. So I'm working again, partnering with a few companies over there in the US. There's a guy called Jay Rose that I follow quite a lot on social media, and he's recently done an education course that I'm looking into. I learned a lot from Adam Daniels. He's one in particular because he's well known within the fitness industry as a good educator, but he does a lot of stuff outside the fitness industry now and talking to different corporate businesses. So I like to listen to what he does. I love reading as well. So again, using Adam Daniels with the amount of books that he reads. And taking some advice on what books I need to read from there. So I think, generally, Adam, he inspires me quite a lot. I would say the guys at TRX, I've mentioned them before, but Fraser Quelch, Randy Hetrick, Bryn Elliott, Miguel Vargas, all part of the education team. They've been TRX. They're like part of the furniture. So I learn a lot from them on a daily basis. So those would probably be the people on a daily basis that I kind of I'm able to connect with and learn from on a lot from. So those would probably be more people that I inspire to be like.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. Do you have much time to kind of reflect on what you're doing, or is it all go? Because that's the thing is with some jobs in the fitness industry, there's so much that we're doing. Do you have time to sort of look out the window and sort of think, oh, be doing this or doing that, or is it all go at the moment?
It is all go. I find actually as we get towards the end of a year, and obviously now it's because it's starting to quieten down, people are focused on different things, holidays and family time, which is great. And then when the new year as the new year starts, it's go again. So I think towards the end of a year I like to I think I naturally just do it like, wow, I managed to get to all these places. We managed to do these events. We've trained this amount of students over the year. So I do get an opportunity to reflect. I think from a career point of view, maybe not as much into the whole scheme of things. So I've been with TRX for 5 years now. I haven't actually, tap back and in 5 years, what have I able to do? I like to think that I've moved the needle somewhat in terms of the awareness of education, training more people up. I feel that if I've raised more awareness than what was known about TRX 5 years ago, then I feel I've got a good job, but I haven't had really a chance to sit down and reflect on the grand scheme of things. But yearly I do, for sure.
That's nice. I like that. Very good. Very good. Okay, we talked a little bit earlier about in Japan and it being I wanted to kind of explore how TRX can sort of work for so many different things. So let's think older client, kids, sport. Just give us some insights into the education and also the equipment that you have that isn't just sort of like people beasting themselves in the gym. You've already touched on it, but it'd be really lovely to sort of hear about the diversity of the education that you offer and also the equipment.
Yeah, so really good question. We are, as I've mentioned, we are probably from a suspension training point of view, the most versatile piece of equipment in the market. I'm sure there are others, but for me, we work with a whole range of people. So obviously I've touched on, working with the elderly in Japan, and obviously with the NHS on fall prevention programs. We also have some unilateral workshops with the NHS, so people that have unfortunately had a stroke and they're getting back to working on both sides of their body. So we use the suspension training in that regard as well. Obviously from a sport perspective, we're pretty much everywhere. So we work on injury prevention, rehab on the straps with professional football players, rugby players, swimmers, tennis players. We work with their coaches as well, so the S&C teams, the sports medicine teams, on there. We work with general enthusiasts at home in terms of how can they adapt certain movements on a suspension trainer to make it a lot easier for themselves. So I think it's also a confidence builder as well for a lot of people that are not necessarily sure that they can do certain movements or afraid to do certain movements. I think the suspension trainer is perfect because it allows those movements to be regressed and actually try it with the support of the suspension trainers to see what you can do first. And then to progress it, it's really easy. Obviously, it's just changing the body angle to make it a little bit harder. So I think it's a really good introduction piece for people to train. We also delve into pre and postnatal, working with female athletes. So whilst we know that a suspension trainer isn't the be all and end all, we feel that we are educated enough and work with a lot of partners that we can delve into different areas of different training for different people, and not just like you've just said, this is how you use a suspension trainer. We're now going to work out for 60 minutes and we're going to do as many exercises as possible. It's about how can we actually educate people so they understand why they're doing these movements and what they are going to achieve from it as well. So like, yeah, everywhere in the middle as well. The only thing we don't do is pets, I think, although we have some pets on videos using the straps, which is amazing. But yeah, it's not something I want to delve into officially. But yeah, we pretty much everyone say we work with, and we educate people in different areas, and we use bespoke education as well. So there's our distributors in Denmark actually have recently just worked with the Danish Blind Society there on the straps and worked with that. And that's something that we've never done. So again, we're learning from what's happening in Denmark, and can we then apply that globally to different people? So yeah, so we're very, very fortunate that we get opportunities to work with a whole range of people, which is great.
Yeah, it's really good. And you know, on our platform, we've got number of your educations that show the diversity, you know, golf, and then female athlete, yoga inversion. I mean, there's lots that, you know, that we've got on our platform and further that you guys are doing. Is there anything that you wanted to follow up on that we haven't covered in this webcast that would be good to tell the FitPro community? I'd love to hear from you. You know, anything at all?
What have we haven't covered? There's nothing in particular. No, I think like my advice is always, if you are a trainer or if you are working in the industry, is kind of continuing to educate yourself. Now that's not necessarily jumping on a course, whether it's our courses or another company. It's kind of looking around and finding the people that, you know, are doing some good work and actually learning from them, having a conversation with them, finding the right books to read, you know, the right YouTube videos to watch. I think, you know, that would be my advice. I think if you're standing still at any point in this industry in particular, then you are going to struggle, I think. And that's what I've found in the past, that, you know, from my point of view, back in the day, you know, I was standing still for a long, long time within the industry. And it's only really when I got the initiative to actually learn from other people and actually move, that I've been given an opportunities that I now have. It's not necessarily say that anyone, you know, you may not want to work in the role that I'm working on, but just to be a better person and a better coach, better mentor on a daily basis. I think that's the kind of the key message I would like to give to everyone that is watching this podcast or listening to it today.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I just, you know, when you said about sort of standing still, it must be so hard for people who are in the industry. This industry tends to be pretty lonely, let's be honest, unless you're connecting with people. And you know, education is a time when you network, you grow, you learn, you thrive, you flourish, all those things. And actually, you know, the idea of burnout, I know so many PTs or people have been in this industry that don't do something for them in their learning or growth, that I can't imagine. You know, it must be so hard to turn up. And I heard you say about copy and pasting the same workout for the same person. Can you imagine just regurgitating the same thing each time? We know why people do it, but that must be really hard to endure. That's my understanding of why so many people actually don't succeed in this industry, because they just burn out. They do so much in pursuit of trying to meet the numbers of their clients, but don't do anything for themselves. And it's just so hard. And so, that's one of the things that I know that you're doing so well in education and raising awareness and stuff. So thank you for what you're doing. I really appreciate it, and showing up for another webcast. Always lovely to chat to you.
Oh, it's always good. Yeah.
It's good, isn't it? We get a chat as well, and it's good for us, right?
So it's always good to catch up with you, and I love coming on here anytime. Yeah.
No, but it's that's a really important thing. What we're doing now is connecting. Yes, other people have got to learn something through this, but it's really important that we're doing it, and we're showing up and role modeling that. So it benefits me chatting to you, and hopefully it benefits you a bit, frankly.
Of course,
but
I think again we've talked about, because we have talked about, yes, it can be very lonely, it can be, but on the flip side, it's a very knowledgeable industry. And what I mean by that is, I don't know a personal trainer or a manager or an owner of a brand or a company within the industry that won't help someone or won't answer a question. I don't know a PT in my time will be like, I'm too busy for that, like, go away. So actually the opportunity is there for people just to connect and network and actually share best practices and best knowledge. We just need to find a way. And I think we are getting there, and there was a lot of great people and a lot of good companies in there. But actually, can we create that culture as an industry as a whole where, people aren't necessarily afraid to ask people some questions or jump on a course because they feel like, well, I don't want to get shown up or anything like that. I think the stigma is there, but realistically, really, if you break it down, I think there's loads of people that can offer help and support within our industry. And we work with, there's some of the best people in the world, and especially in the UK. Absolutely. We've got some of the best trainers in the world, the best educators, some of the best companies that are based in the UK that have a fountain of knowledge, and they're not holding it back. They're more than open to show and educate people. So I think the opportunity is there as well as it, being a lonely industry, but I think you kind of have to come away from that and actually say, just be open to it as well. Don't feel that you're on your own. There are a lot of people that you can connect with for sure.
Yeah, I love that. So tell us how they can connect with you and also TRX, please.
Sure, yeah. So TRX, we've got two main websites in the UK. It's trx.co.uk, pretty much the same as the one in the US. So that's the .com page. You can follow me specifically on Instagram and LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is my full name, Nathan Di Rosario, and my Instagram is at NathanTRX. And you can also follow our main Instagram page where we put a load of our trainers using our equipment to give people ideas on how to use our suspension trainers and all our functional tools. And that is at TRX_UK. So that would probably be a really good one to follow as well.
Yeah, and to tag you in, right?
Yeah, of course. I'm always interested to see what people are doing.
Absolutely. And, potential of being reposted on what they're doing. I can imagine loads of people now suddenly getting their dog in the background. You mentioned about pets.
I'm always up for seeing the dog. Just be careful, but I love dogs. So specifically, any pet videos, send them my way.
Guinea pig, gerbil. I mean, it's just amazing. We could go everywhere with this. Should there be some sort of disclaimer that said we're not actually encouraging
I'm not taking any responsibility for anything, so no.
Me neither. I think, I just, from the point of view of FitPro, we, our three key things are ensure, educate and support. And the reason why support is there is because we recognize it's so very vital. And so people listening to this, you can reach out to Nathan and TRX for support. You can reach out to us. There's a reason why we have that there, because we know that you guys thrive in a supportive and safe environment. So reach out to me, FitPro, Nathan, TRX. And it's just an absolute pleasure to chat to you again, Nathan. Hear some of the exciting developments that's going on for the company. And, they can look out for the summit, can't they, in September 2023. Yeah, absolutely. All right, Nathan, we'll sign out. Is there any last words you'd like to say to the FitPro community?
I can't think of anything specific. Now you just put me on the spot. No, I do appreciate the opportunity to get onto these webcasts and have a chat with you, and hopefully, people that are listening or watching come away with some ideas or some motivation to jump on further education or get support. So that would probably be my last thing I'd like to say. Hopefully this has helped.
I'm absolutely sure it will. And I think it's just giving you know, a lot of the time people listening to these things just kind of know that they're doing the right thing. So kudos to the people that are showing up and educating themselves and reaching out and connecting with people. And thank you again, Nathan, for your time. You're an absolute angel. All right, we'll sign off and say thank you to everybody for tuning in. Come on, Nathan, let's do a cheesy wave. I made you do it. I'll turn it off.